my goodness. And there it is. Wow, get the pin to go. I'm still recovering, not going to lie, from this morning's post-game interview, but obviously round 2 of the Pepsi Classic is underway. A lot to look forward to this block, JT. We've got not only the top 12 to advance to the Pepsi Classic match play tomorrow, but then we'll know the top 24 who are going to advance for Friday's start of the PWBA Tour Championship match play. So talked about it earlier that we would let you know, and we'll start going over the scores of the Tour Championship during this round. Brianna Cote, this I know, is going very well throughout this week so far.
I would say so.
And she's been doing her thing. Sandra Gongora, of course, if you missed it in earlier this morning, she is the round 1 leader of the Pepsi Classic and also shared an excellent message, obviously, on what she has been going through. So, JT, how are you?
I'm doing well. I did happen to catch your interview with Sandra, and it was something to behold for sure. So I encourage you guys to check that out. We're going to clip it out, put it up on social media if you have a chance, and get to watch our bull here in game number 1. We're out on the lanes now, and boy, I'll tell you, after watching that interview, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who are rooting for Sandra big time.
I would say so. I think, as I mentioned this before, every time we've ever conversated, had an opportunity to chat with her, she is always genuine and very authentic. Also willing to share, certainly, and obviously she shared a lot, which took a lot of courage. She did not have to do that, and she certainly did it. And I think it seemed to be good for her to be able to release that. In a sense, and obviously it also helps. It may help someone else at the same time. So we're on the lanes now. Liz Johnson and Ellie Blomquist, Summer Jasmine, and Julia Bond, along with Sandra Gongora, Shannon O'Keefe, Brianna Cote, and Brianna Andrew. One thing that Sandra Gongora mentioned was the good cross that she's had this week. And she's been very communicative with and good communication going on with Shannon, Sandra, and Brianna Cote about what's going on the lanes. And I think she said that's helped a little bit, certainly. And obviously, we watched Liz Johnson, a new career high, the GOAT. Liz Johnson, even at this point in her career, still doing things that she hasn't done before, and eclipsed her highest consecutive string of strikes total. 22 today.
Wow.
22 across 3 games, 269, 300, and then started with the first one in game 6. I think she said her previous high, I think, was 16.
16, wow.
Which doesn't just seems odd.
Yeah.
For Liz Johnson only to have 16 strikes in a row.
What's the most you've ever had in a row, Emil?
I barely got to 20.
Okay. One game, I hope.
Yes.
Okay.
To be honest, I don't know. I feel like it's more than 12 across a couple of games. But when it counts, I can only muster up 12, and I've only done that once.
Well, a lot of strikes out there on the lanes this morning. We had 300 games, if I'm not mistaken. Correct?
Yep, 300. Sydney Brummett and Lindsay Boomershine in game 3, and Liz Johnson in game 5.
But it also seemed like there were some low scores out there to be had if you weren't careful. It's funny, people see a few 300 games and they think, oh my gosh, this is the easiest thing anybody's ever bowled on in the history of the sport of bowling. And it is not, I assure you. There are lots of sand traps and pitfalls and hazards out there. if you don't get your feet in the right place with the right ball in your hand and stay ahead of the transition. So Sydney, a perfect case in point there. She bowled 300 in game number 3 and then finished her last 3 games of the block with 191, 205, and 158. So a little bit of work for her to do to get back into the cut here. She's in 31st place at plus 50. The cut line currently sits at plus 155 for 6 games. So that's a 225.83 average. And as you mentioned, Emil, our leader, Sandra Gongora, bowled 256, 256 her last 2 games to finish out her block at plus 234. We've got a lot of other stuff to talk about too, though, Emil. This is actually 2 tournaments in one here. We've got the Tour Championship cut that will also be made at the end of this 6-game block. And currently, those standings are filled through 18 games. And 24th place right now. That is the number all the players are looking for, is at plus 215, Lindsay Boomershine. And Dasha Kovalova is just inside of that number. And in order for her to win Player of the Year, she's going to have to make that cut. She had a rough start to the event in the Reno Classic. Had a great block here this morning to get herself right in contention, not only for this tournament, but also for the Tour Championship, which is going to be a necessity if she's going to end up winning Player of the Year this season.
No doubt about it. And things are obviously looking on the up and up. And there were times in the Reno Classic I didn't feel like she was really throwing it bad, but over the course of 12 games, obviously, and it still could have been that point. Maybe she did not throw it bad, but it clearly just wasn't able to match up on that particular pattern, the 37-foot lane condition from a couple of days ago.
I thought what was interesting about that pattern in the bowling that I was able to watch was you could, and Dasha, we all know she's pretty much invincible if you let her keep the ball in front of her. That pattern, you could only do that for a couple of games, and then you had to jump left and open up your angles. And I think that's probably the weakest point in her game. And it was exposed in that event. But this event, she's gonna be able to do exactly what she loves to do, and she's doing it well for the first 6 games of the tournament. She's currently second in the Pepsi Classic at plus 232, just behind Sandra Gongora. And it's going to need one more good block here to not only make the cut into tomorrow for the match play for this event, but also for the Tour Championship.
Hashtag Team No 8-pin early. National Bowling Stadium has been not too kind to players in 8-pin situations. I don't know how I feel about this stadium.
Not your first choice to bowl league in?
I would bowl league here,
yeah.
Certainly. I would remove the 8-pin from the round. It'd be cool to bowl league here.
It certainly would.
Cote out with the front 4. Julia Bond ended the block well this morning with 279 to tie for 11 at plus 155 with Challenge O'Keefe. Players who advanced to the finals yesterday, Stephanie Johnson is in the top 12 right now. And Brianna Cote, again, sitting in 10th at the moment. Really good group of players from 13 to 20 right now. Actually, the 20, and all the way down to the cut line at this point, or the cash line, excuse me. With Daria Payok in 13, Shannon O'Keefe in 14, Abby Ragsdale in 15, Verity Crawley in 16, Taylor Boltice in 17, Holken, Higgins, Mercier, Easton, Guerrero, Pulhowski, McEwen, Norris. Right now, Shannon Selman's just outside of the cash line in 26th, and Shannon holding on to at the moment 20th in the TC or Tour Championship standings after 18 games at plus 246, which bode well overall. I'm now trying to perhaps punch a ticket to 2 match plays, one tomorrow and one on Friday. Rick, since you said that, that means that perhaps we didn't see Dasha early this morning. Maybe we didn't see her enough. So, we'll make a point to do that.
And she's got the front four early. She's going to force us to put her on, Emil.
I like that.
So, it's going to be really interesting. A lot of math tonight. We are going to try to focus as much as we can on the players that are fighting for spots in the cut, not only for the Pepsi Classic, but also for the Tour Championship. And as we mentioned, Dasha right now is just ahead of that number for the Tour Championship cut. And that's a number you do not want to miss because basically everybody in the field starts over again at 0. So even if you're 200 pins behind the leader, you're back to even.
Stephanie.
Go ahead, Emil.
No, I was just going to reference Stephanie Zavala, obviously winning last night's Reno Classic. For those of you who may have missed that show, be sure to check the archives on both BowlTV.com as well as the BowlTV YouTube channel. The show a little bit this morning. It only got to plus 16. But she has begun this afternoon with the front 5.
I was just going to say, the only player really at this point who's in the Player of the Year hunt that is outside of the cut line for the Tour Championship is Danielle McEwen. And she's got a lot of ground to make up tonight. She's currently 150 pins back of the number. So her hopes of finally hoisting that Player of the Year trophy that she's been so close to the last couple of seasons could end today, unless she can find a way to shoot a huge block tonight. And I think she's going to need 250 over tonight to make this cut.
It's out there.
It is certainly out there, and she is one of the players that when she catches fire, she can strike more than anybody. We've seen her do it in the past. And I know that's kind of a cliche, but we literally have seen her do that in the past. Wichita.
It always stands out. It's always a lasting memory for me.
Stephanie Zavala, who still an outside chance at that Player of the Year, but didn't bowl well this morning, shot 16 over, but off to a great start here out of the gate, front 6.
It's a good question in the chat there from Gary, and I did drop the link to the TC standings. They're in the same place that you would find the schedule for the Kickoff Classic, just under the PWBA Tour Championship portion of things. Just click qualifying and you will find that, but it is dropped in the chat. You can also get there by selecting the info icon next to the chat icon here on Bowl TV. There were a few players that really got off to great starts this morning. There was no better start this morning than Sandra Gongora, who shot 279. So she's in obviously great position again, if you hung around, I should say, as Julia Bond is perhaps just capitalizing on the success of the latest 007 movie. And now you're doing her thing to start here in game one with the spare six-packer situation. But if you hung around at the end of this morning's block, and a big thanks to Curtis Von Kruger for knowing that Sandra Gongora was the leader and letting us know and asking if we had a chance or time to speak with her. Because if not, then we would not have gotten essentially what I call now the message and the opportunity to hear Sandra Gongora, what turned into a quote unquote, or what we thought would be a normal, let's talk about what happened in Squad 1, what worked for you, maybe what didn't. Now the pattern play turned into much more of a message of determination, a message of support, a message of overcoming, and a message really that everyone, I believe, certainly should hear, and will hear it on social media soon. If you just want to go back and just watch it at this very moment, you can. It's archived along at the end of this morning's block, but it will be on social media as well. Simply put, if you are going through something, and there's been several players, I believe, who've been very open about some of their mental health struggles this year. It's obviously a conversation that has moved itself to the forefront of our society, and rightfully so. Sandra let us, they basically took us into the last year or so of her life, what she's been going through, how she's overcome it, and now, of course, got a grand opportunity to do something very special here this week.
Yeah, I just got word from Aaron Smith that that'll be posted shortly. And I mean, I wrote a piece in Bowler's Journal in the October issue about somewhat of the same topic. It was about the price of pursuing greatness. And it takes its toll. We sometimes forget the toll that Michael Jordan paid for being as great as he was, and Simone Biles, obviously, at the Olympics, all of the criticism that she dealt with just because she was afraid she might hurt herself because she wasn't 100% mentally there. And I even mentioned in the story Daniel Day-Lewis, who had a mental breakdown while acting in Hamlet. And a perfect example we're watching right now, Shannon O'Keefe. We did a piece on her at the Queens that kind of showed behind the scenes of just how much pressure there is to stay on top. And it's something that, as sports fans, we take for granted to a certain extent. When one of our athletes that we love isn't doing well, we're very hard on them often. And I think as a sports fan, that's your right, but you also have to realize that it's a human being that you're talking about and you're saying those words about. So, but on the other hand, as an athlete, you have to take those things with a grain of salt and use it as your fuel to get better. But it's an interesting topic, and it's something we don't talk about all that much is the other side of greatness and the costs of it. And it was nice to see Sandra share with us the struggles that she's gone through. And I think my favorite part about it was just, you could tell how much she loves bowling, and then when bowling went away for her, she seemed like she kind of lost her purpose. And it's really nice to see that she's back to doing what she loves, and then it was able to incorporate the design work that she's done in the past into something a little bit more to help people that are struggling as well. So again, we encourage you to check out the interview. But I'll tell you what, normally we don't root for people up here. We try to be pretty objective, but after watching that, it's hard not to root for Sandra. And I've always enjoyed speaking with her in the years that we've she's just a lovely person. So, and it's always surprising to hear when people go through tough times. And I've actually spoken about it myself on Bowl TV back in January when we had the kickoff classic, and so I certainly know where she's coming from, and certainly there for anybody in the community, just like anybody else.
There are a few scores being put up, as we would expect, certainly at this point, and on the fresh. A couple of possibilities at 270 games. Stephanie Zavala being one. She can shoot 276. Stephanie Johnson can shoot 268. Steph's on 47 and 48. Which seemed to be a very good pair. We've had 2 300 shot on 47 and 48 today. Verity Crawley has 7 out of 8 to start. And, of course, right here, Julia Bond was kind of our leader in the clubhouse regarding potential high scores. I will be completely honest and say I too wish I could throw it like Verity Eric.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, COVID. COVID. I think it just obviously did some things to people that really no one maybe even expected that, and maybe felt some things that you didn't know you could really feel. And to get in the place, a depressive type state that you didn't think you could ever maybe get to. But yeah, it affected people obviously in that way across the country. I'm very happy I was here to be a part of that. Even if I had heard it and I would still take the same, I think, things away from it. But to be in it and watch her and just give her the space to do that, that will be something I'll never forget. It's probably now a highlight of my young intermediate career.
Yeah. No, it's tough, and I think that this is the problem with the issue, is that there's for so long been such a stigma against admitting that you do have that issue, and you do think about those things, especially for men, but I think also a lot for women as well. It's just not okay to express your feelings, and I think we got to get to a place where everybody understands that it's okay. And I felt like that was certainly the message in what Sandra was saying. And she's bouncing back here at the end of game number 1 in the block tonight. So nice little double there to bail this game out. Had a couple of open frames in frames 6 and 8. And now can finish out with 4-bagger to bail this game out. One of the things we saw with our last pattern, obviously these two patterns have been very different in terms of the length and where the shape of the pattern has played. But pattern, that one shows you we're not bowling on a leak shot. Missed a little right there, and that one never had a chance. But they did tend to play a little bit tougher every single round in our last event. And we'll have to see. Obviously, there's a lot of strikes here this afternoon. We'll have to see how the transition plays. It's always funny. You go out and you see the transition over the 6 games, and then so you develop a game plan based on that, and then you start a little different. The players play in a little bit of a different spot, and then it just doesn't turn out the same way. So, game of adjustments.
Sometimes we make baffling adjustments.
Strike there for Brianna Andrew, one of our lefties in the field this week.
Not many. She's thrown it pretty good overall. Joe had a great question in the chat this morning and asked, what do we think Brianna Andrew might learn or could learn from crossing with 3 players like Brianna, Shannon, and Sandra. And then we talked about that. Allie Tatro was actually in the chat at the time, and she's had some experience, obviously, as a young player on this tour. We had some other individuals chime in about that as well. The observation was one, certainly paying attention to how people go about their business. She's also had the pleasure of rooming with other players, like this week she's rooming with Melanie McDaniel, also a young player, Kayla Crawford, young player, but rooming with Valerie and Kelly. So, golden opportunity to ask questions, get some knowledge, and share in anything that involves improvement. It's hard to do at this level.
Yeah, for sure. And just basically, you learn how to play the lanes right. Because Shannon O'Keefe never plays the lanes wrong. And Brianna Cote, there's no player in the world right now who's bowling better than her.
244 for Jay Bond. One more for O'Keefe. We'll be off to game number 2. And if we were to remain on this pair, let's see. 53. We'll see Kayla Crawford, Daria Payok, who had an excellent spare conversion or split conversion in game 1. Saki Mukatani and Shannon Pruhowski. Diana Zavyalova, Stephanie Zavala, Abby Ragsdale, and Wendy Bartier Jimenez. Let's see. If we keep it here, we'll have Dasha on games 4 and 5. Eric specifically asked about Shannon Stellens. Where is Shannon? Shannon might get to us in game 5 if we are to be here as well. I didn't know JT wrote a story. I'm going to have to read it now.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't know he still did that thing.
Well, Bob Johnson retired from his post at Bowler's Journal.
How about that?
And so I volunteered.
Oh, big shoes.
It is. And what's funny? I have many Bob Johnson stories, but the first big junior tournament I won was a tournament called the Canoga Park Eliminations, and it was part of the Western States Eliminations. It was one of the qualifiers. And when I won, I was 14 years old, and the person who interviewed me for the Pacific Bowler was Bob Johnson. So,
how about that?
Yeah, my first big thing. And then I ended up doing Bob Johnson's Hall of Fame video, made his Hall of Fame video, and I've been good friends with his wife. I bowled juniors with her, Michelle Garcia. She was one of the top junior bowlers in Southern California. She was so good that they moved her up to bowl against the boys. One of the few who had that distinction. in my era, Julie Gardner and Michelle Garcia, and then Tennille Milligan, Grijalva at the time, got that honor, and then Missy Parkin.
How about that?
Yeah. So, I found out that Bob was retiring, and I offered my services, and looking forward to next month's column, the November one. It'll be about the television broadcasts and what we can do to innovate them a little bit. And then in December, we'll be talking about Cobra Kai. So if you like Karate Kid and Cobra Kai, and you're very curious about what that has to do with bowling, read the December issue of Bowler's Journal.
So when do you and Jeff collaborate on the column?
We don't. I did try to get Jeff to name my column for it, because Jeff is really good at naming things. And but he was having a baby. His wife was having a baby at the time, so his brain power was so occupied with naming the child that he couldn't name my column. So I came up with the name myself. I was actually quite proud of it.
I don't even want to know what it is now. I just want to pick up the magazine and read it.
Well, it is out on newsstands right now, so be sure to check out the October issue of Bowler's Journal. And a lot of great content in there. Joe Jaquez, who's here this week, is writing for Bowler's Journal. He's done a lot of great stories here this week already, but did some really fantastic coverage of the U.S. Women's Open, and his story on Josie Barnes is featured in the October issue. Jeff Goodger, the aforementioned Jeff Goodger, wrote another hilarious piece on comparing the difficulty of conditions like those found at the U.S. Women's Open to a bad day at the park, which was absolutely hilarious. So be sure to check that out. Plus Dennis Bergendorf's great work, and Jean-Marc as well. So quite an honor to be part of that crew writing for Bowler's Journal. Game number 2 underway here, and getting to watch Diana Z, who's been knocking on the door recently, trying to win that 5th title. Victory has eluded her so far this year, but she's shown signs, especially towards basically after the Queens, that she's feeling good about her confidence. She had made the switch over to Storm and appears to be fully confident with the ball changes, and has been really knocking on the door lately. Made the show at the U.S. Women's Open. It's just been bowling well, seems like every week. And Daria Payok as well. Daria's made a number of match play finals. Got off to a little bit of a slow start after the layoff and the visa issues, which caused her to have to miss a number of events at the beginning of the season. Currently plus 158 after 7 games here, and Diana Z at plus 202. Zavala bounced back after a slow start this morning with a big game to start the block, and Abby Ragsdale is at plus 116, so she's right there in contention here. Mentioned plus 155, the number to make the top 12 after 6 games, so big scores here. soon as we get our score updates, we'll let you know. But Danielle McEwen is just off to the left of our featured pairs, and she's off to a fast start with the front four here this game. Again, she's kind of the one player with a chance for Player of the Year who is on the outside looking in at the top 24 cut. So going to need to throw a lot of strikes here this afternoon. All right, folks, game number 2 here underway. We've just got 4 more games after this, and we'll know our top 24 in the Tour Championship and our top 12 in the Pepsi Classic for the match play finals tomorrow. Well, folks, hope you've enjoyed the coverage over on Facebook. We gave it a few extra frames. We're going to go ahead and sign off over there. But in order to keep watching, head over to Bowl TV, get your subscription. You're not going to want to miss the rest of this event and the exciting conclusion of the PWBA Tour at the PWBA Tour Championship over the next couple of days. But hope you enjoyed the coverage here on Facebook. We'll catch you over on Bowl TV for the rest of the round, the exciting conclusion of qualifying here at the PWBA Pepsi Classic. Yeah, interesting discussion going on the chat about Player of the Year standings. And yeah, it is interesting. Zavala has won 3 titles this year, which is more than anybody. She did make the U.S. Open finals, where she finished 4th. But sorry about that, folks. Just had somebody come by, had a question. But about the TV show on Sunday, which is live here from the stadium at 2 p.m. local time, 5 p.m. Eastern time on CBS Sports Network. But yeah, a lot of talk about the Player of the Year race. It's one of the closest ones we've ever had. I think it is the closest we've ever had. By the way, Kelly Kulick has the front 7 over on, looks like 59 and 60. Maybe 61 and 62. A little tough to tell from the side angle here. But yeah, so we make these point lists to reward consistency, but also to give points to players who win titles. There's a little bit of elevated points for majors, but you take somebody like a Shannon O'Keefe, who basically made match play every week from the beginning of the season, and she's racked up a lot of points that way. She won the first event of the season, and it's been very consistent ever since. It's made a bunch of shows. You take somebody like a Julia Bond, who won the Queens and has had a number of other high finishes. But Stephanie Zavala, she did miss the opening 3 events of the season, so that set her back a little bit, and has had a few rough weeks, which is sometimes normal when when you're a rookie and you haven't seen, the transition that happens out here and maybe some of the different bowling centers that some of the other players have had a chance to compete in. So that happens. But I think all you can hope for is that player of the year to be decided on the show on Sunday. And certainly shaping up to be what will happen, which should make for a very exciting TV finals. Danielle McEwen finishes with 276. So that's exactly what she needs to do to get herself back into that Tour Championship top 24 cut. And also have a pop at making the cut here in the Pepsi Classic. Kelly Kulik did finally miss in the 8th with an open frame. But interesting story on that. We did have the opening season of the tour back in 2015 when the tour was relaunched. We all kind of felt like Liz Johnson should have had the Player of the Year wrapped up going into the Tour Championship show. And Stephanie Johnson, who'd had a fantastic season, was by far the most consistent player, but had only won one title. Still could have won Player of the Year, and it really came down to the last frame of the championship match. If Stephanie Johnson had struck, she would have won Player of the Year and Rookie of the Year, and ended up missing in the 10th frame and ended up taking home Rookie of the Year. But Liz Johnson, who had won 2 majors that season, Queens, the U.S. Women's Open, and then finished 3rd in the other one, didn't have Player of the Year locked up. So after that season, we looked at the points list. We made some changes to it to give a little bit more value to winning and also to winning majors. And it's interesting, if you look at the points list versus the money list, the points list is a much more accurate representation of who bowled well, whereas the money list is usually an indication of who bowled well in the biggest tournaments. There's also a lot of discussion about how the Player of the Year should be determined, and it was very important in the formation of the tour and everybody who was involved in it, that it was done on points, done on what you did on the lanes rather than in a vote. But I do love the debate. That's what sports are all about. And nevertheless, whatever happens, Stephanie Zavala's season this year has been one of the all-time great rookie seasons in the history of the PWBA, if not the best. As we mentioned, Stephanie Johnson came one frame away from winning Player of the Year in her rookie season. But that was an unusual rookie class in that most of those players were very experienced already because of having reached the age of being able to become a professional after the tour had ceased operations. And so you had players that were on Team USA multiple times, that had won Queens or U.S. Women's Opens and had contended in those tournaments for years and years. Players like Missy Parkin, players like Stephanie Johnson, who we mentioned, who were rookies that year. Coming up to the end of game number 2. Daria Payok with the spare will be in the 2 teens. Howski had a chance for a huge game. Now going to have to make this washout, and does it to be in the 250s. And Mukatani and Kayla Crawford on the wrong side of plus. Zavala, after a big opening game in game number 1, really struggling here in game number 2. She got 3 splits and a missed single pin through 8 frames. So got a couple of big strings going on. We're going to switch over to that here in just a minute. Dasha Kovalova with the front 8 on 69 and 70, and Lindsay Boomershine, who bowled 300 earlier today, has the front 8 on lane 66. Well, that was easy. Jeez. And, while it happens, she misses. course. So,
well, there was a small, plus on the bright side, if you will. We did maybe technically
yeah.
Black Cloud and be responsible for that this time around.
Goodness gracious. Chris Pulliam asking me, which I think it's a better question for you, Emil, because I think you've watched a lot more bowling.
Okay.
But do you feel like there have been an unusual number of missed singleton spares this week?
I don't think so. To be honest, I've seen way worse. To be, and maybe it's because on pairs that we've been on or been watching from that vantage point, haven't seen that many. But if I look across the building, if you will, just look at the scoreboards, then yeah, you'll see several 9 outs. I don't think it's been that many though.
Yeah, Jeff Armstead asking why it takes us so long to switch from one pair to another. Well,
Yeah.
So, yeah, they have to feed the hamsters before they'll run on a treadmill. So, just to give you a little fun background of the setup here this week. Normally, what we would do is 2 different people would be in StreamYard. They'd be sharing their windows. You could bounce back and forth without even having to put the schedule graphic up. We aren't doing that this week because Aaron Smith switched out. I moved my laptop in. And then my laptop is also mirrored over to a display that Emil can see. And there's one instance of it on the display. There's one instance of it on my laptop. And sometimes it's easy to get lost on which one you're sharing. So that's why that one took so long. But believe me, I was just as annoyed as you were. I would say, Chris, that on shorter patterns, people don't tend to be all that aware of this, but spares are a lot more difficult on shorter patterns because, especially if you're going cross lane, the middle part of the lane, and you're trying to play a little bit further to the right or throw it to the right, the ball's going to hook a lot more in the middle part of the lane, so you're not going to have as much hold. And so if you just miss a little in on your 10-pin shot, it's going to pick up and miss the left. And then conversely, if you want to make sure you get it over there to the right, sometimes you get it over there a little too quick and the ball never picks up and it goes into the right gutter. And shooting the other side spares, it's very easy to, if you miss a little bit left, for that ball to just break loose and miss everything. Because you're not shooting it off your strike line. So, yeah, I would say on short patterns, there are a lot more missed spares. I would say today, and I have no data to back this up, but spares would be a little easier today because the pattern's a little longer and there's a little more shape to it in the part of the paint.
I would agree with that. Overshot, finish things out.
One of my favorite stats to roll out, Emil, was back when they developed the PWBA patterns initially. And they rolled them out in USBC leagues. They did some data on averages on the patterns. And which pattern, out of all the patterns, Emil, do you think had the highest average?
Of conversions?
Just the highest average for the league bowler. League bowler average. Cheetah, shark, scorpion, chameleon, and viper were the patterns that were rolled out. Which of those patterns do you think the league bowlers would average the highest on?
My first inclination would have been to say cheetah.
Right. I think everybody says that.
But I'm going to go with shark.
Shark was the highest scoring pattern. And for the pros, it was just the opposite. Mm-hmm. Shark was the lowest scoring, and cheetah was the highest scoring. And What the reason for that was two. One was amateurs weren't as comfortable playing way out by the gutter, and that you have to play out there in order to take advantage of the cheetah pattern. But the other problem was they couldn't make their spares because the pattern was so short, and they'd get the ball in the middle part of the lane, and it would just hook too much. So amateurs like a little bit more oil. They like them to be a little bit more lugubrious, to get the ball to push a little bit. But pros, just the opposite. They want to take advantage of the friction.
Well, back in my day, I would have said, I still would say I would enjoy bowling on cheetah, but and I'd never liked long patterns, but for those reasons, now that I'm back bowling league, yeah, I'd bowl on some shark just so I can make a spare.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So we're starting to creep into game number 3. We do have a score update. Read that off for you. After 7 games in the Pepsi Classic, Dasha Kovalova continues to lead. She's at plus 248, which we all know that she just bowled another big game here in game number 8, so likely to continue to hang on to that lead. Stephanie Johnson moves up to second. She shot 265 in game number 1 here, so she's at plus 245. Missy Parkin in third at plus 226. Liz Johnson in fourth at plus 219. Sandra Gongora drops to fifth at plus 216. She's currently tied for fifth with Lindsay Boomershine, who's also at plus 216. Maria Jose Rodriguez in seventh at plus 204. Diana Z in eighth at plus 202. Julia Bond in ninth at plus 199. Brianna Cote continues her great bowling. She shot 236 in the opening game to get to plus 197. And rounding out the top 12 are Verity Crawley and Shannon O'Keefe at plus 165 and plus 164. And those two players desperately want to make this cut, especially with respect to that Player of the Year race. O'Keefe missed the last one by a pin. And going over to the Tour Championship cut, Brianna Cote is our leader at plus 563. And I'll just skip all the way down to the bottom. In 24th place is plus 234. Lindsay Boomershine is the number.
Got a lot of good players right now on the outside looking in both instances. Where is Dasha at currently? Well, I'll just answer that myself.
For the Tour Championship? Oh, where she's bowling?
Yes. Because I have it right here in front. This is game 3.
I'm sure if you guys gave us 10 minutes, we could switch over to her pair.
Oh. Well, we said 53 and 54 was our starting pair, and she's going to be on that pair, then switch over to 55 and 56, and for games 4 and 5. So we'll keep it there, or go back to that point so we can see a couple of games of Dasha. Rick, still got you in mind. For the Bowl TV chat group, George and Regina Abood are both here live and in person. Always active in the chat, so we appreciate them for being nearby, A, and making the trip, B, to catch the players, of course, live and in person here at the National Bowling Stadium. Yeah, from San Jose.
All right, we're gonna do it. Let's do it. I always think of the scene in the Christmas Story when the old man changes his tire, and he's always trying to like he thinks he's at the Indy 500 and he's doing a flat tire change, tries to do it in the fastest amount of time possible. That's what we're gonna try to do here.
Okay.
All right. So let's see if I can avoid having to say "oh fudge" at the end of this. Here we go. Bang.
Oh, that was pretty good.
Not too bad. Not too bad. See, the problem is you have to flip back and forth between this giant monitor and this little monitor on my display, and that's where I got crossed up last time. That's where I dropped the lug nuts on the last tire change.
Jasmine Mason, Ashley Galante, Clara Guerrero, Valentina Cruz, and then Dasha Kovalova, Amanda Fry, Melanie McDaniel, and Maria Jose Rodriguez. I don't know why Jason Thomas elected to use a Christmas Story reference. He should know.
Oh, I know. But you did go to the house with us.
I did.
Yep. It's kind of funny, like when somebody hasn't seen a movie like that. Like for me, it's Star Wars because I'm a big Star Wars fan, and so I have a good friend who's never seen Star Wars before, and I make fun of him about it, but I also kind of root for him not to ever watch it, right? Because it's kind of a thing. Like you haven't seen Star Wars, so. But I also, I have young children, not young anymore. I guess one's still young. She's 12. But I have two boys. They're 19 and 21. And I always took a lot of pleasure in introducing them to things that I liked as a kid. Star Wars, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. And I always loved it when they got into it. But, I run across younger people in the workplace now and ask them if they've ever seen a movie like Caddyshack. And they say no. And part of me is very jealous of them because I know what great things they have to look forward to in their lives. They get to watch Caddyshack for the first time. But on the other hand, it makes me sad because they don't understand the references that I'm using to try to make my points. Because really, 90% of the points I make are Star Wars, about 5% are The Godfather, and then the rest are Caddyshack, Dumb and Dumber, Kingpin, The Big Lebowski to a certain extent.
Neil knows the deal. Paula, to your question, I don't know, but I think they're close.
What's the question?
She asked, have there been dates? Essentially, had the schedule been
yes, it's close.
Created, released,
Coming
etc.?
soon. Coming soon.
That's a pretty good question because it means that players, or sorry, the fans typically now have an idea of when important announcements, especially the schedule, are made. Based on previous years and when those announcements typically come out. And then, of course, they're making plans to make trips. Get your flights ready, make the drive if you can. Dosh, someone commenting about her jersey, always going well in that. Yeah, you're right. Queens was one. She was wearing at least something similar, if not the exact replica. Or maybe I'm thinking of Louisville, one or the other.
Yeah, if it was the same one, I mean, there's no reason to ever wear another jersey, right? I mean, she couldn't have bowled much better than those two events. Actually, 3 if you include the Louisville from this year.
Got that one ended, Maria. Take a look at those standings again. So before we know it, we're going to be in Game 5.
Ooh, there's another 8-pin there for you, Emil.
Good thing I didn't see it.
Yeah. Sean St. Clair asking if I've ever seen the movie Greedy. You ever seen the movie Greedy, Emil?
I have not.
Okay. It's a good one. I mean, it's not a good movie, but you got to watch it if you're a bowler.
Okay.
Right? It's Michael J. Fox. He plays a professional bowler. And they had I would say, the best, most respectful treatment of a pro bowler of any movie that I've ever seen. Like Michael J. Fox, Johnny Petraglia taught him how to bowl, and he had a passable. You could say, well, that could be a pro. And so the very beginning of the movie was several scenes of him as a professional bowler, and they really took a lot of care in depicting that accurately, how it all worked. And his girlfriend was the PR director for the tour, and so it was well done. And then pretty much the movie went downhill from there. But it had nothing to do with the bowling. The bowling was the best part of the movie.
Greedy.
Tennille jumping in and mentioning that it was filmed at Cal Bowl in Lakewood, California. It's also the establishment where Robert Smith made his first PBA finals as an amateur. Robert Smith also won the U.S. Open the same year as Tennille Milligan.
2K, right?
Yep.
No messenger going down.
I'll bet you that's why Tennille brought that up, because she knew I would tie all those together just to mention that she won the U.S. Women's Open.
Kim, if you are referring to like points for the points list, yes, each time a player competes, and obviously based on their finish in the tournaments, they will receive a certain amount of points designated to that finish. It's Rule 14, which is a popular look this week because of the Player of the Year race and Rookie of the Year race. Rule 14 in the PWBA tournament rule book.
Yeah, everybody at home is going, hey, why is that page all of a sudden getting a bunch of hits this week?
It's going up. I think it's page 15, actually, of the book itself when you open the PDF up.
Brianna Clemmer with the front 7. Over on 55 and 56. So we'll have to keep close tabs on that. And, with Stephanie Zavala having a rough outing, Clemmer could still sneak back into this Rookie of the Year race.
Yeah, it's not mathematically over.
She's 25,000 points behind, but she could win this one and win the Tour Championship. Zavala would have to have a really good Tour Championship to hang on to the award. So that's the thing that's amazing about these Classic Series events is you can make up a lot of ground if you have a good week. We saw Verity Crawley do it in the Summer Classic. Kind of move from middle of the pack to the lead in points.
Well, this is huge for Bree, nonetheless. Either way it goes, because she didn't bowl. And she certainly wasn't bowling bad by any stretch in the Reno Classic, excuse me. 1+138, finished tied for 19. Yes, unfortunately, she missed the top 12. And then, of course, Stephanie Zavala won, so boom with the dynamo.
I have a feeling I'm not going to beat my 22-second one from the last time here.
But it wasn't bad.
Not terrible. That was at least 26 seconds.
We talked to Bree during the the practice session podcast. And we asked her about coming off a good performance at the Pan Am Elite Championships and specifically bowling on the tough 38-foot Los Angeles pattern. And she said, certainly based on that, she felt good and confident kind of coming in. She knew, and based on the pattern shapes for this week, that, bowling there would certainly help her here just because she had to be very sharp on the tough conditions. So if you get a few boards to play with, and obviously Miss Clemmer can strike with the best, could be a very good week. I do think I've been mentioning patience this week. Obviously, because there's so much that is happening and can happen with each individual event, and then, of course, the qualifying to advance to the Tour Championship. Yeah, just because, like someone in Brianna Clemmer's case, she didn't make the top 12, but she didn't bowl bad.
Yeah. And
so she's still in great position to advance to the Tour Championship with a great day here today, which is happening at the moment. At the very least, it's she's plus 130. And a few spots, obviously, outside of the number at the moment. What could happen next as we watch the ninth shot? Bang.
Yeah. Gosh, I've been called and I've called myself this, the president of the Brianna Clemmer fan club. But gosh, she's so talented. I'll tell you, when I saw her come out on tour this year and was throwing it hard, Christy Leong's had a good day.
Yes, nice little messenger.
Yeah.
Up in the 7th.
Another big game here, 257 possible. She had 298 earlier today.
And that plus 154.
She was a fantastic story at the Kickoff Classic.
Yeah.
After losing her dad to COVID, came out and made her first match play finals. In my mind, she was, one of the biggest stories of that whole event. So nice to see her here competing and giving a run for her second match play appearance in her career. Push. Oh, that 4-pin out of there, Christy.
Nicely done. She's got some good support, too. I mentioned Georgia Regina now up here rooting for Christy and providing some support from the concourse.
But back to Clemmer.
Or Georgia Regina, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Back to Clemmer, just to finish that thought. When she came out early this year and I saw her throwing it hard, I said, I didn't even know she could do that. So she can do that. And I know all the other stuff she can do, slow hook the lane and open them up. And these ladies are in a lot of trouble.
Here's her 10th offering for 10 in a row. Bang. Was the equivalent or one of the best examples of splitting the 8-9?
That was a Gwen Stefani. You know what that means?
No.
There was no doubt that was
okay. I should have known that. That was way too easy. That was like a dad joke. I might have to put that one in my book. You're just joining us. This is game 3 of 6. Brianna Clemmer, formerly of McKendree University, where she spent her collegiate years. National champion, first-team All-American, Rookie of the Year candidate, looking for 11 in a row. That one is through the nose, 3, 6, 7, 10. She's going to be in the 280s, and most importantly, is going to move up the leaderboard to get closer to a top 12 spot as well as a spot in the Tour Championship.
Birgit Norik's also with a big game here this game. She needs a few big games, at least for the Pepsi Classic cut. She's in good shape for the Tour Championship.
Mr. Pate checking in the chat. Well, I don't get a chance to see Mr. Pate and Mrs. Pate for that matter that much anymore. All their kids are grown.
They had a nice little time in Colombia. That was a pretty great story.
Yes,
all the
indeed.
gold medals and for Lauren and Matt and Nick. I mean, that's really cool stuff.
I will say one of the finer stories I've ever read was about the Pate family, and at the time, their extensive college bowling family, essentially. So, getting to know parents, Josh, Lauren, Nick, getting a chance to see all 3 of them compete for their respective universities. Pretty cool stuff.
It's just gotten better. I mean, it just seems like the story gets better and better. Yeah. They're saying hi, Dad. They talk to each other through the Bull TV chat. That's how they communicate. They don't do FaceTime. They don't text. They go on Bull TV and talk to each other in the chat.
Well, we appreciate it. That's fun. I feel that I have been at every event this season, but obviously Beer Getz has really been good. First singles title, had made another show at least, came into the event in the top 10, 10th still, 91,000 points, nearly 92,000. Definitely her best year as a whole, I would say, for full season's body of work, especially after being able to be here for
I think
majority
that's
of
the
the
thing,
seasons.
right? I mean, I was shocked when she won her title, and she said flat out, you know, a lot of people said that she was never going to win, and you know, the Lucy title that she won wasn't a real title, and I think it was very satisfying to her to take home that title, but also just to kind of prove to everybody that, hey, I'm one of the best players in the world, and by putting yourself in contention for Player of the Year, there's nobody that can doubt that anymore. Well, that's the end of game number 3. We're going to take a quick break from our coverage here to change out the game of graphics. But while we are doing that, enjoy this ad from our friends at Storm Bowling.
We won a lot of professional tournaments. We won a lot of tournaments worldwide. I mean, we won more in the last 10 years worldwide than any company. We make good bowling balls, and good players use our bowling balls because they can win with them.
All right, folks. Hope you enjoyed that. Still waiting for game number 4 to begin here.
I got an idea.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick look over at Dasha real quick. Just because she can get to 278. She's on 49 and 50. We were going to go back to this pair because we could see more of Dasha. Or at least, but because she keeps bowling so well on this pattern. Felicia Wong, 254, by the way. We saw Christie's 257. This game looks like highlighted by Brianna Klimmer at 284. Get 233. Courtney Ermish 239.
Yeah, oh, that was all right. 23 seconds, maybe 24. Question from Wilfredo: is Stephanie Zavala guaranteed to be in the Tour Championships? Tour Championship. The answer is no, but she's in awfully good shape. She is at plus 480 through 19 games, and the cut is currently at plus 234. So unless she took a game or two off, I'm going to go out on a limb and say she's going to be in the Tour Championship.
10 pin for Dasha. She will not get into the 270s, but a good looking 256 here. You make the spare, strike on the fill.
I mean, she is bombing them. She's going to get to 380 over.
And like you said earlier, though, when Dasha likes what she sees and matches up, it hasn't been like a gradual improvement over the course of some blocks. It's just been domination over the course of a block.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think we talked a little bit about Stephanie Zavala, and she's had a few weeks where she's really just hasn't had much. But Dasha's had a few of those weeks, but she's got a little bit more experience. So her bad weeks aren't as terribly bad. But there are still some things for her to work on. This last pattern that we bowled on, the Reno Classic pattern, is clearly not her favorite pattern. She's got to open her angles up wide. But the thing is, man, Mike Albee was a pretty damn good player. One of the greatest of all time. He had weeks where he just didn't have anything. And he just knew how to, he was trying to learn a little bit and maybe limit the damage, learn how to get a check on that pattern or in that bowling center that he didn't like. But man, when he got what he liked, he took advantage of it. And Dasha Kovalova definitely does that. And sometimes you can mess yourself up by trying to be good on everything. So it's really going to be interesting for her how she wants to go forward. Does she want to risk being great on the patterns that she's great on by trying to make her game a little more well-rounded? And back in the day when Mike Albee was coming up, you had conditions where you'd play somewhere all week, right? Like, hey, we're going to play third arrow this week. Okay, this week it's second arrow. All right, we're going to play the gutter this week. There's never a week like that out here with these balls and the rev rates, and you have to be versatile. But there are definitely things that Dasha likes to do better than others. And if you give her a little bit more of that than the other thing, she's going to find a way to win. And she knows how to win, and that's a big thing. That's the difference between good players and great players. Great players know how to win when they get there. And that's what's been so amazing about Stephanie Zavala is she's a closer. It didn't take her any time to learn how to win. She just already naturally knew how to do it. It's really a thing to be able to perform under that much pressure as you get closer and closer to the finish. And what she's been able to do 3 times this year has been amazing.
That's a really good point and interesting kind of perspective, thought process on being good or being great, and how, if, when you need to, should, want to improve, or not that you don't want to improve, but in the example that you just used, knowing that you're great on, let's just 3, 4, 5 patterns, and not so great on 1, 2, 2.5 patterns. Which one's better for you overall? That's an interesting conundrum.
I mean, I think
that make you go,
I think players like Walter Ray and Duke, they didn't love hooking the ball, but they got good enough at it to where they could compete, right? I mean, Walter won a lot of titles hooking the ball, and so did Norm. But the majority of their damage was done playing straight. So I think that's probably the best you can hope for. I've always thought there would be a bowler that would come along that was great at everything. I don't know who the person is currently that's closest to that, maybe Anthony Simonson. But we could put a condition out there that Anthony Simonson would have a hard time beating, not a great bowler. Put a 22-foot pattern out. But I mean, Simonson can pretty much do anything. He can play straight. He can play straight from out. He can play straight from in. He can hook it from anywhere. He can hook it to the gutter and back. He can play fallback from in, and he can throw a backup ball and beat you if you're a good lefty. So I'm not sure how much more versatile a person can be than that. The only thing he can't do is reduce his rev rate. By a lot. You can reduce it by a little, but I don't know. Who out here do you guys think has the most versatility out of all the players?
It's a good question for the chat. Nice talking point as we move into Game 4. We'll get a good chance to see Shannon Sellens. Let me text Eric Nix. He said specifically, "Hey, let me know when you're calling Shannon's Bear." Okay, E, I got you. Shannon, Valerie, Missy, and Elise Bolton. I think Missy too. We'll get into the. Let me just check that before I go check on something else. I thought Missy was really just going to light them up on the 37-foot pattern.
Well, again, that was the interesting thing about that pattern, Emil, is you probably had that look for maybe 2 games, and then you had to open your angles up, and that is not Missy's A game. She does not like to throw it left to right. She can play anywhere on the lane, but she's really not good at curving it, and that's what that pattern ended up turning into.
All right, the conversation's already brewing. Who do you think is the most versatile player on the PWBA tour? I'm going to go change something. I'll be right back. Get into this combo.
Yeah, a lot of good answers already. I'm going to go back to a couple of comments by Dian Cordero 86. One, he said, "Fun fact: Stephanie Zavala used to work in the pro shop at Cal Bowl." We were talking about Cal Bowl as the venue for the movie Greedy, and also former PBA Tour host, and turned it back around to Robert Smith and Tennille Milligan / Grijalva, former U.S. Open and U.S. Women's Open champions. But Cal Bowl, Stephanie Zavala used to work the pro shop there, so full circle. And then he also asked if anybody has gotten any lessons from Barry Asher, and we could go off on a number of tangents with respect to that, but I never got any lessons from him. I guess you could say I got some lessons from Barry, not like the lessons you would think, but life lessons. And I also roomed with Barry Asher at PBA school in 1997 in Dallas. And the question there is, why was Barry Asher, who was already in the Hall of Fame at the time, going to PBA school? Well, the answer is he wanted to come out of retirement and bowl the PBA 50 tour. And they had instituted a rule in the time that he was retired that said if you wanted to bowl, you had to attend PBA school. So in order to follow the rules, he had to go. So I got to room with him. So that was a lot of fun. And he also was the bowling consultant on another movie, not Greedy. He was the bowling consultant on, in my opinion, the greatest bowling movie of all time, The Big Lebowski. That's another question for you guys in the chat. And I'm going to write an article about it in Bowler's Journal in the coming months. What is your favorite bowling movie between these two? Kingpin, which was filmed here at the National Bowling Stadium, or scenes from it were filmed here, or The Big Lebowski? And I think your answer to this question says a lot about you as a person. So drop that in the chat as well. Michael, they are in game number 4. Emil is currently out updating the game of graphics. So this is game number 4 you're watching here. Just getting started. A few pairs have made it to the halfway point of this game, but most of the pairs just getting started. Pairs in front of us, as you can see, are just in the second frame. Lindsay Boomershine, one of our leaders, plus 265. Leaving the 2-7 there in the second frame. Yeah, getting a lot of Kelly Kulik as most versatile player on tour. I think that's an excellent answer. A lot of Verity. D-Mac. Diana Z. O'Keefe. Someone saying I would put Clemmer in that group, and I would agree. A lot of Kingpins and Big Lebowskis out there, too. Yeah, Brianna Cote, that's another great answer for the versatility question. She's certainly put her name at the top of the list. She's a factor, it seems like, every week. All right, we've got our update through 9 games. Dasha Kovalova, big lead, 752 out of the gate here in the afternoon block. She's at plus 384. Brianna Cote, who we just mentioned, is bowling fantastic once again. She's at plus 278 in second place. Stephanie Johnson having another good tournament. She's at plus 273. Lindsay Boomershine, who we're watching right now, plus 265. Sandra Gongora bounced back after a slow start, shot 243 in game number 3. She's at plus 263. And be sure to check out that interview that Aaron Smith and Emil Williams did with Sandra at the end of our last block. If you need a pick-me-up, that was just posted over on our social channels. So be sure to check that out and bring your tissue. Maria Jose Rodriguez in 6th at plus 257. Julia Bond in 7th at plus 246. Daria Payok in 8th place at plus 217. Brianna Clemmer is at plus 214 after that big 284. Liz Johnson is in 10th at plus 212. And Missy Parkin and Christy Leong tied for the final spot at plus 211. Shannon O'Keefe, who missed the cut by 1 pin in the Reno Classic, is 2 pins out of the cut here with 3 games to go. Jen Higgins, Verity Crawley, and Diana Z are just behind that. So, man, it's close.
Don't be afraid to go inside more. Just can't get away out.
And we'll also give you the updated standings in the Tour Championship. Remember, though, all these pins are dropped. So the important thing is to make it into that top 24, and those pins will drop. Brianna Cote leading at plus 644. Stephanie Johnson in second at plus 513. Sandra Gongora in third, plus 473. Verity Crawley in fourth. Stephanie Zavala in fifth. Diana Z in sixth. Daria Payok in seventh. Shannon O'Keefe in eighth. I mean, how crazy would that be if Shannon O'Keefe ends up barely missing this cut, to miss the first two match play cuts and be eighth in the Tour Championship standings? Amazing. It shows you how consistent she is as a player. Jen Higgins is in ninth. Dasha Kovalova has moved all the way up to 10th after being in jeopardy of missing that cut. She is now safely in the number. Kelly Kulik and Shannon Plahowski tied for 11th at plus 364. Brianna Clemmer at plus 352 is in 13th. And I'll go ahead and jump down to the 24th place number. That is currently Clara Guerrero at plus 261. So we had mentioned Danielle McEwen hovering well behind that number, and she still is 140 pins back at plus 121, looking to try to keep her hopes of Player of the Year alive. She would probably need to make this cut as well as the Tour Championship cut. Take home Player of the Year. Yeah, good point, Michael. Stephanie Johnson and Valerie Bercier, very, very versatile players in their own right. Yeah, a lot of folks in the chat throwing out some different movies. Emil just got back, and I threw out in the chat, what is your favorite bowling movie? Is it Big Lebowski or Kingpin? And I said, well, what you say about what your answer to that question is says a lot about who you are as a person. And I'm going to do a column about that in Bowler's Journal in the coming months. But what is your preference between those two?
Well, you want me to drop some more knowledge, some more bad or disappointing knowledge?
Yeah, you haven't seen them either.
Never seen a Big Lebowski.
Okay.
I've seen the Kingpin 100,000 times.
Okay, all right. So obviously you like that one.
I would lean toward Kingpin just based on it.
Okay.
But to give a true defining answer, I'll need to see the Big Lebowski.
Yeah.
I've heard all the references. I know what they all are.
Well,
and I know what most of them mean.
I will end the conversation by quoting the dude in the Big Lebowski. Well, that's just like your opinion, man. One of the greatest lines in the history of any movie.
Good shot there for Shannon Sellens. Shannon needs a nice block here to both advance in the Pepsi Classic as well as the Tour Championship. Would love nothing more to be able to, I would say, at least get into the 250s. Valerie Bercier has found herself with the front a lot this week.
I know. Every time I look up, she's got the front eight. We're running after with the camera to end the string by black clouding her. But yeah, she's extremely versatile. A lot of these players, though, have a lot of versatility in their ability to play different parts of the lane. What you don't see all that often are players that can change their tilt, change their axis rotation, change their speed, change their rev rate which is kind of the rarest of all versatility things. But I would personally say, and there is some data to back up who are the most versatile players in terms of those things. When Team USA comes out to training camp, they do bowler assessments, and they can tell what a player's range of axis rotation is and their range of speed control and things like that. O'Keefe and McEwen were considered the two most versatile players in terms of that. But I would say out of all the players, Kelly Kulick had the best touch. She could make the most shapes, and she had a wider range of shapes that she could make the ball make.
I saw Kelly was mentioned here in the chat.
And I also think until this year, where Danielle McEwen was really forced to have to play a different game than she's been comfortable with, she is potentially the most versatile out of all of them, but she's never been really comfortable moving from one type of ball shape to another. And this year she's really started to become more comfortable moving in and out of those things, second nature. And I also think, related to that topic, we mentioned the Wichita barrage when she won that tournament a few years back. She basically went on that barrage because she was out of the tournament, and she said, forget it, I'm just going to try this. And she did something a little different. She changed her axis rotation, made the ball make a much sharper break on the back part of the lane, and she just went off. And I asked her after that tournament, hey, why don't you do that more often? And I think she's gotten tired of hearing me ask those kinds of questions. But I mean, that when you're that talented, those are the kind of questions people are going to ask of you, right? Because you start to expect it of them all the time. And I think this year was kind of the first year we've really seen her get comfortable doing all that stuff. And I think next year, when she's completely healthy, she's going to put it on.
Yep. It's, I don't think there's any question about that. 10 back again for Valerie Bercier. This one looks like earlier, it was Stephanie Johnson and Sydney Brummett striking at will. And now it's Sellens and Bercier. Missy at plus 211. Sellens are now at plus 85. Bercier at plus 140. Boomershine at plus 265. And I'm just reading totals for the players we are watching right now. Crawley. Shot there for Verity. Out of Sellens. Oh! Offed it off ever so slightly to the right. Liked it. Nice fair for Lindsay Boomershine. Seeing the best of the best come out here. Sellens' max score of this game, 280.
Wilfredo is very concerned about Stephanie Zavala's chances of making the Tour Championship. I just want to assure you, Wilfredo, she's in soft. She's fifth. She's good. There's also an interesting quote in the chat from Thomas Gwynn. He said he doesn't have a favorite bowling movie, but he wants to note that in the movies, in general, bowling is considered a holy game. Characters that bowl are always the good guys. But that actually brings up a good point in the development of bowling back in medieval times. You know, people used to bowl to determine how pious they were. So the more pins you knocked down, the better your chances of getting into heaven. So, I mean, Velma would be soft to get into heaven, right? I mean, if that were the case. I mean,
Based on that, yes.
Kelly Kulick's going straight to heaven, man. She doesn't even have to wait at the gate like the rest of us.
Your antidotes always, actually never surprise me, I should say. Just like that high flush shot from Shannon Sellens. They are always wise, Thomas said. That is, I remember doing a lot of projects. You know, so easy to do back in the day. School projects. Anything to do, I'm just gonna pick bowling.
Yeah.
Try to find something different about it to present.
I'll tell you what, man.
That never came up.
I wish it were true, because I guarantee you, I wouldn't be the first person to get into heaven, but I'd get in. I can knock down enough pins to get into heaven.
Well, if heaven's on the line, I'm walking them out.
I think you'd get in.
I'm gonna walk them out anyway.
I mean, you're in the Hall of Fame for college for bowling, so of course you'd be in heaven.
Jesus and I are walking them out. This group has figured out ways to turn it on here. At least Bolton trying to make a spot run here. She's got the last four. Oh, nearly an 8-pin for Valerie Bercier. So she is looking at
Jeff, my man, Armstead. God's not a big bowling fan. If he was, there would be more lefties.
Jeff must be left-handed. And I've talked to him. I've met him a couple times. Although we've ever talked about our handy throws with. Never seen him bowl. But I can tell you, though, that Jeff sounds just like he could be Denzel Washington's father.
Yeah.
I told him that when I met him in Smyrna, I told him to give me a my man.
Uh-huh.
And it sounded just like Denzel.
Oh,
so
nice.
he added that to his.
I wondered about that because I know that's one of your things too.
It is.
Yeah.
But he sounds just like Denzel. So he trumps me anytime, any day of the week.
I wonder if Denzel Washington likes to bowl.
Let's find out. Let's invite him.
I met him before.
How about that?
Yeah.
That too doesn't shop for some reason.
Yeah, we.
Sellens. Oh,
high flush. Get into heaven.
That's
Shannon Sellens.
That's huge. All right, so the Denzel. You can't say you met Denzel and not tell me.
Yeah, so
the
I
details.
used to go to UCLA.
Right.
And worked for campus events.
Okay.
And so we ran this award every year called the Spencer Tracy Award. And it was really an excuse to invite a celebrity out to campus and give him or her an award and then get to talk to the students. And so Denzel came out. We gave him the Spencer Tracy Award. He was gracious enough to accept it. And it was just after he had done Malcolm X. And he was so cool. He arrived in an all-black Porsche. I mean, everything in there was black. It was, I mean, you couldn't get that, right? I mean, the paint was black. All the interior was black. It was just, I thought it was the coolest thing I've ever seen. And, you know, it had his entourage, but he was like the coolest guy. Super cool guy. Just because we met Harrison Ford the year later. And, I mean, I'm a big Denzel Washington fan, but I mean, as big of a Harrison Ford fan as you could get. And he was not a mean guy, but he just was over being who he was. He was just like, yeah, it's not that big a deal. Star Wars, Indiana Jones, whatever. But Denzel actually, you know, cared. So he was just a cool guy. But I never, found out if he was a good bowler.
Well, Shannon Sellens is a good bowler.
She is a good bowler. And a 280. And she needed that to have a chance to make this Pepsi Classic cut. She was well behind the number going into this game at plus 85. And now she's at plus 165. The number going into this game was plus 211. So she's still got a pop to get there with two more good games.
That's a lot, too. It's a lot of number at this point.
And she was also kind of hovering around the cut line for the Tour Championship. She actually was one spot out of the cut, 20 pins back of the number, and that one just pushed her way into it.
She came in 20th, I believe, entering this round.
Yeah, and she had dropped all the way down to 25th. So
it's got to be because my guy Eric Nix was watching. Dasha, well, she too was looking at 278 potentially. Just like or 79, excuse me, just like the previous game of hers. So let's look at Dasha's line today. 16. This is just this afternoon. 216, 279, 257. She's got a spare to deal with. If she makes that in strikes, she'll be in the 250s. This morning, she went 248, 279, 197, 254, 248, 206.
Pretty good. Not too shabby.
You know who's second? Of course you know. She looked at it. But
In this tournament?
yes.
Yeah, I do.
Rana Kote.
Yeah, she's not slowing down.
And no. No, not by a long shot. Stephanie Johnson has continued to put on a great performance. Crawley caves the big four. And Verity, who was at plus 204 in 15th place, now going to be in the 250s. Liz Johnson has had a bit of a slower start here after tossing 22 in a row to end the block, or during, I should say, the end of the block this morning. 69, 300, 218. She's gone 203, 193, 200. Similar, though, to how she was bowling on the fresh on this pattern this morning, where she went 209, 203, 217. So,
I mean, Verity, she's a player that you just kind of, like this morning, right? If you walk by her this morning after 3 games, and you would have seen that she was minus 23. And you'd be like, oh, she's having a bad tournament. She's done. Because, I mean, Lindsay Boomershine shoots 800. Everybody seemed like everybody and their mother shot 7-0 the first or better first 3 games. And you go, okay, well, I guess she's not going to make it this tournament. And then you come back 6 games later, and she's 260 over. Like, well, wait a minute. That means she must have been, she's averaging 250 since then, right? I when I was out working on the
250,
PBA,
1.8.
Yeah, right. Yeah. When I was out working on the PBA tour, Sean Rash used to do that. You'd walk by him in game number 2, and he'd be like 30 under. Like, okay, well, Sean's not gonna make the cut this week. And then you come back 6 games later, and he's 400 over. What? When did he do that?
Hey, John, appreciate you tuning in. Good question. The answer to that question is yes. at this moment in time. JT, will you update points after this round tonight?
Yes, I've even updated them after 6 games.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
I missed
anybody
that.
wants to know who's leading the projected point
Well,
standings?
then what I have is incorrect currently.
What do you have
I'm still going off of
after the Reno Classic?
through last night. Yes.
Okay. Well, I think that's what the proper thing to go off,
Okay.
right?
Well, through last night's Reno Classic, the conclusion of which Stephanie Zavala won, Verity Crawley was your leader, and she finished 5th in the event. The biggest mover we talked about was Brianna Cote, who essentially jumped from 8th to 4th within the Power Forward Player of the Year points race. Shannon O'Keefe was 2nd, Dasha Kovalova 3rd, but the difference less than I think about 1,000 or so. I added it up early, and I can just do that real quick. So, to retrospect, minuscule differences between first and second. Yeah, 1,030 to be exact between first and second. And 1,300 between first and third, for example. And so JT has been providing projected points after a round, for example. And those points after a round will dictate or mimic what we will give if a player finished in that respective position. So, for example, Dasha Kovalova would add 15,000 points if she were to maintain the lead after this round is complete. That would go into the projected points and vault her back into the lead. But
well, I think the bottom line is nothing has been decided. You're
Sure.
just going to have to watch and find out, and there's just still so much that can happen. And I personally think that Player of the Year is going to be decided on that Tour Championship telecast on Sunday.
Well, I would hope so. Honestly.
All right, so let's end game number 4 here with a joke provided by Ken Hampel in the chat. So a guy wanted to know if bowling was in heaven. His friend passed away, contacted him, and said, "Hey, good news, lots of bowling in heaven. Bad news is tomorrow you ain't there." I like it.
Graphics time.
Time to change out the graphics, which means that it's time for some commercials. So while Emil is changing the graphics, we're going to hear from our friends at Brunswick show off their latest product. We'll be back with more coverage here on Bowl TV. Game number 5 coming up after this.
The Quantum Evo series celebrates the evolution of technology within one of bowling's greatest series of balls, the Quantum. The keystone for the Quantum balls has been the mushroom-shaped core, and this is where our engineers started developing the next evolution of easier revving, more versatile Quantum bowling balls. For more information on our Quantum Evo series and other Brunswick bowling balls, visit our social media platforms and also brunswickbowling.com.
All right, folks. Hope you enjoyed that from Brunswick. Quantum. Had a few of those back in the day. Be sure to check it out. Quantum Evo, the newest in the long-standing line of premium bowling equipment from our friends at Brunswick. It's Neil Milligan saying, "I hope the Player of the Year is decided on the last ball in the 10th frame of the championship game of the Tour Championship." And then she hopes for a tie and a sudden death roll-off. Well, she's only saying that because she's not here. Because whenever I would mention tie to Neil Milligan when we were on the show, she would give me the dirtiest look ever. All right, so Jeff wants us to repeat the joke. So, again, this is from our friend, and we have John Goodman in the chat. We of course know John, but we mentioned Big Lebowski, John Goodman. I assume not the same John Goodman that's in the chat. He's one of the stars of The Big Lebowski, one of the all-time great characters in the film. So Ken Hempel provided this joke. It says, a guy wanted to know if bowling was in heaven. His friend passed away, then contacted him and said, good news, lots of bowling in heaven. Bad news is, tomorrow you anchor. Neil Milligan asking for a round of applause in the chat for us. Not necessary, but we appreciate it. Very nice. Thank you, everybody. So game number 5 here. And Verity Crawley and Lindsay Boomershine still in front of us. We'll keep it here on them. Kelly Kulik just off to the left. She's at plus 197, so fighting for a spot in the Pepsi Classic Finals. Kelly has been on a nice run the last 3 games. She's gone 265, 256, 257 her last 3 games. Wow, look at all that applause. Ken says it was actually a baseball joke, but converted it to bowling. I like it. Great joke. Must have been a good bowler, that the guy's friend, because you don't just give anybody the anchor position. Nice to see Maxine Nabel out here competing. Star back in the 90s from Australia. Still throws it pretty awesome. Shreds the rack there, Messenger. Not having a great tournament here in the Pepsi Classic, but still, you can tell she's still got game. Yeah, question in the chat about the schedule for tomorrow. And 11 a.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Eastern, and 8 p.m. Eastern are the rounds tomorrow. We've got match play round 1 for the Pepsi Classic starting at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. local time here. And round 2 of match play will start at 4 p.m. Eastern. And then shortly after that, we will have our stepladder finals. So basically a rinse and repeat of the Reno Classic, which just wrapped up last night with Stephanie Zavala taking home her 3rd career PWBA title. So Broomershine just a couple open frames here this game and struggling to hang on here to make the cut. Verity going up the board here this afternoon. Not up the boards, but up the leaderboard. And Jordan Richard still with a chance. A couple of big games here. She's at plus 131 going into this game. And with the front 6 now with a chance for the front 6 here. And 10 back for Jordan. One of the things about, these high scoring conditions, you can make up a lot of ground in a short amount of time. You get lined up. Kovaloa keeps the onslaught going. She's got the front 4 here in game number 5. So putting on a show. Liz Johnson with the front 7 over on 69 and 70. Switch over to there. She gets one more. And Annalie Blomqvist is using the old one-step approach from way left and had the front 6 before missing in the 7. Liz Johnson does finally miss in the 8th frame, so still a possible 279 for her. But we'll keep it here as Jordan Richard goes after the front 7. Kovalova, she's not slowing down. Another front 5. She's only 441 over.
Wow. Did you guys go over scores?
No, we have not.
Whoa. She is plus 441, as you said. Now putting some distance, or at least attempting to. I'll tell you, Brianna Cote is trying to keep it as close as she can. Kovalova leading the way at plus 441. Dasha back-to-back 257. Last 3, 279, 257, 257. Brianna Cote at plus 316. Maria Jose Rodriguez, big day today. Right now, plus 289. She is third. Julia Bond in fourth at plus 282. Lindsay Boomershine fifth at plus 264. Verity Crawley has catapulted now into sixth place at plus 262. Jen Higgins is seventh at plus 254. Stephanie Johnson is eighth at plus 252. Sandra Gongora and Missy Parkin tied for ninth at plus 245, and it's been a bit of an up and down block here for Miss Gongora. And I think I was just down on that pair. She had left a 248, but the 4 had separated from the cluster. I didn't see the spare attempt, but that made it extremely difficult to not chop that spare. Liz Johnson, the 11th at plus 237, and Shannon O'Keefe at plus 216 is 12th. Shannon Pluhowski, last 3 games, 256, 236, 235. She now finds herself in 13th place at plus 211. Daria Payok is 14th at plus 206. Danielle McEwen is going to need just a couple of more games potentially here. She's at plus 215 place. Kelly Kulik is 16th at plus 197. 15 players right now are 200 plus 200 or better. Kulik at plus 197 against 16th. Klemmer is 17th at plus 196. Christy Leong is 18th at plus 194. Valerie Bercier is 19th at plus 188. 20th is Diana Zavjalova, plus 187. Right now, last number to get a cash or get a check, is 25th. That's Ashley Galante at plus 152. Tour Championship, meanwhile. You'll see Jay Rich here in 1 second. Cote is leading the Tour Championship standings. The qualifying after 22 games at plus 682. 24th of that number is plus 271. Here is Jay Rich.
Wow, that one really hooked. You know, that's the thing about bowling now, Emil, is that didn't look like a bad shot.
No, it did not.
And you and I saw this up close with Journey to 900.
Yeah.
I mean, it was funny. We had a robot throwing the ball, but we were responsible for moving as a committee. And every shot Earl threw, we were freaking out that it was going to 4-pin or big 4, right? Maybe we should have moved. Maybe we should. And how many times did we move too early and flat 10?
A lot.
So, I mean, I felt like that was a really good shot that Jordan just made right there. But I don't know if she didn't expect, or maybe she thought she might have 2 more shots on that lane before she might have to move. Because, you know, once she's done with this lane, she moves on to the next one. She doesn't have to worry about it anymore. So what do you do? I remember, and to go back to the Bob Johnson story from earlier, I have a long history of being friends with Bob Johnson, and we were at a PBA event, and Mika Koivuniemi needed a strike to win a match, and he left a 3-6-10. And Bob, he was sitting off to the side, couldn't really see very well what happened. And after the match, and I was sitting right behind the match, he was going to write a story about it, and he said, "Yeah, Mika, I think he must have really pulled that last shot." And I said, no, not at all. He actually threw it well, but the lanes transitioned, and he threw a great shot and left a 3-6-10. So it wasn't a choke. It wasn't a bad shot. It was just he didn't anticipate the move that he needed to make. And that's what's so tricky about bowling these days, is that you have to always be anticipating when that transition is going to happen. And you're not ever going to be able to time it perfectly. But you really just don't want to leave a 3-6-10 and not have the wherewithal to know if it was you or the lane, and then go up and leave another 3-6-10 behind it because you didn't pay attention. And pros call that missing a move. So we'll have to see what Jordan does when she gets up in the 10th frame. But I thought that shot she threw in the 8th was pretty good, even though, watching at home, you say, that was bad. She left the 3-6.
See the move, if necessary, on the left lane. But every game, and with just 2 left, or really 1 and less than a quarter left, it's on the line certainly for Jay Rich. Definitely needs to finish this game to move up a few spots and give herself a chance going into Game 6 here tonight or this afternoon to make the top 12 for the Pepsi Classic. And then for the Tour Championship, she is currently in 30th at plus 189. The number is plus 271 at the moment.
Yeah, so 270 would be great.
Again, the multiple storylines and items to watch out for. Danielle McEwen at plus 165. And let's see, where is Danielle?
All right, so we have the perfect comment in the chat email that's going to allow me to do a bunch of things, tie a bunch of things together, just like the dude's rug in The Big Lebowski ties the room together. Okay, so Vaughn Duty, great bowler from SoCal, now Vegas, tells a story. He said about 20 years ago he bowled Barry Asher. 10th frame, Barry needs a strike to shut out Vaughn. Vaughn said to him, "Hey, just spare. I still need to strike out." Barry goes up and strikes. And when Barry comes back, he said, "Hey, I tried to leave a solid 8 for you, buddy." That's great. So, solid 8 for Barry Asher. First of all, Barry Asher was the bowling consultant on The Big Lebowski. He worked on that film, tying back to our original discussion from earlier for The Big Lebowski. So he said that he had to throw all the stunt shots. So all the bowling balls you see go through the pins, that's Barry Asher throwing it. So they drilled duplicate balls for him to all the talent. And so he was able to throw all the shots. And so the Coen brothers, who are notoriously quirky directors, done some amazing films, including The Big Lebowski, they had a very specific look on their face that they'd get when they liked the tape. And so they asked Barry, "We need you to leave a solid 8 pin with this caramel looking ball. It's a caramel white dot." And he said they had a ton of oil on the lane, so it's going to be almost impossible to leave a solid 8 with a caramel white dot. But he said, I'll give it a try. And so he starts throwing shots. He said it took him about 40 shots, and he finally left a solid 8, right? And so he leaves it, turns around and looks at the Coen brothers, and they have the look on their face of a take that they don't like. And he's like, what? I mean, that's the holy grail. You know, a solid 8 with a caramel white dot on this crap that we're bowling on. And they said, well, we were kind of hoping you could make it wiggle a little bit.
Wow.
And so they ended up doing the wiggle in post-production. It's in the shots in the movie. Steve Buscemi leaves it.
Did you see that 10-pin just wiggle there from Jay Rich?
See, and that's the move off of the. So what you're hoping is that the ball still has enough juice in it when you move left that it's going to come around the corner and pop the 10 out or go through the pins right. But about 95 times out of 100, you make the move and you flat 10.
She did strike him the first shot.
Yeah. That's huge.
That one on the wiggle.
Yeah.
Gets it to 260 plus though.
And I can't tell you, and this is the difference between league bowling and bowling for honor scores and tournament bowling. Tournament bowling, you're always going to preemptively make the move. And so I can't tell you how many 300s in league that I've thrown away by bowling like a tournament bowling and making that move preemptively and leaving a 10 pin like on the 9th shot of an 8-bagger.
267 for Jordan Richard.
That was huge. That's going to keep her in with a chance. Kelly Kulik with a disappointing finish after starting with the front 5. She ends up with 231. So that gets her to plus 228 with 1 to go. So she'll be right around that cut number going into the last game.
Big game brewing for Stephanie Zavala. I feel that, Verity has had her fair share of 8-pins. I feel that the 8-pin, though, hasn't been stingy on who has received the brunt end of it, if you will.
No, it's an equal opportunity pain in the butt.
Especially here at the stadium so far. It's Colton with a chance to make something happen here late. Check and see where she is in both standings here. Also, let me check on the Zavala score. She hit a finish with 259. Saki Mukatani can finish with 256. 245 from Stephanie Johnson, 245 from Jen Higgins. Jose Rodriguez on the back 6. Again, the Tour Championship number right now belongs to Shaolin Zulkifli. And now what you want to see there, open in the 10th. She was at plus 271. She's going to give some pins back. Charging Jordan Richard, just shot 267.
And Danielle McEwen shot 203 that game, Emil, and she's done out of the Tour Championship cut. She's going to miss 2 of the 3 top 24s in the Classic Series events. I'll tell you, if you would have bet on that at the beginning of the year, that Danielle McEwen would miss 2 out of 3 Classic Series final event cuts, you'd have won a lot of bets.
Yeah, I wouldn't have put money on that. All right, Liz Culkin. Plus 133 in the Pepsi Classic standings. Just left the 1-2-4, missed the head pin right. Does make the spare. She is 2 spots right now inside of the top 24 Tour Championship number. Right now at plus 297. So Left some pins out there, yes, but she's going to be in the 230s. Most importantly, did not give any away. Or back, I should say. Verity Crawley, solid finish. Let me go down and move that scoreboard so we can see the final tallies. We'll know a little bit more, of course, once everyone is complete this game, and we'll get the score update. But we know Jordan Richard is around the number. We know Liz Culkin is around the number. And speaking of Tour Championship number at the moment, regarding the Pepsi Classic, we've got a few players still in the hunt for that. We talked about Danielle and old Mr. TC, but she can make the most of the trip still if she can find a way to make match play the Pepsi Classic.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, 203 that last game. She's going to have to shoot 260 or better, I think. I mean, I think this cut's going to get to 260 minimum.
Yeah, didn't see what Liz Johnson finished with. But I was making that note comparison that Liz started slow on the fresh this morning. Same thing here in game 4 is when she got cooking. And, of course, she had the front 6 down there. Now she's up to plus 303.
Well, this is going to be a good pair to watch here this last game. Got a couple players hovering around it. Got to keep fighting for the spot in the finals tomorrow. Certainly, all of the players that are whacking them here are going to make it into the Tour Championship cut. But keep an eye. Oh, nice fair conversion there by Cote.
Well, I believe Sarah Strickland is watching. Although that's not her last name. Get that right. Oh, no, that's right. I'm tripping. Thanks, Hosen, by the way. It is. Liz shot 266. She shot 260, or a game of 269 in game 4 earlier today, and then followed it with 300. I did get a chance to see what you guys were referring to. Specifically, Kendall had mentioned that Nelly was 2 or 3 step. I got a video of it just because once I saw it in the chat, I went back down to just check it out. She is someone who really throws it well. Has had a small amount of success on tour. And I feel if she had an opportunity to just bowl more, she would break through at some point as well. Yep, the old 3-step in front of the ball return. I'll pay attention to see if she is going to do that here on the right lane. Again, final game. The Vetter family, including my guy Sebi, is watching. Appreciate you guys. Thank you. Well, it is that time, James. We've got a different maestro, so be sure to remind JT what time it is. Well, let's see. Throughout the day, we've had, this channel we're watching right now, a few of the best throughout the week thus far, certainly today. If you guys saw it, we're paying attention to Nelly doing her thing. You know, most players who I see 3-step in front of the ball return get a little loft in it. He's able to lay it down pretty smoothly into the lane. By the way, JT, as you taking out some opportunities to snack, you do know what time it is. He knows. All right, our 11th game is up. Dasha Kovalova, Pepsi Classic standings I'm talking about at the moment. Plus 474 in the lead, followed by Brianna Cote second at plus 353. Ria Jose Rodriguez third at plus 333. Liz Johnson fourth at plus 303. Jen Higgins is fifth at plus 299. Stephanie Johnson is sixth at plus 297. Julia Bond is seventh at plus 296. Missy Parkin is eighth at plus 292. Lindsay Boomershine is ninth at plus 288. Verity Crawley is 10th at plus 284. Sandra Gongor is 11th at plus 268. The number right now is Shannon O'Keefe at plus 241. Again, regarding the PWBA Pepsi Classic standings. Shannon Puhowski is 7 pins back and 13th at plus 234. Kelly Kulick is 14th at plus 228. Danielle McEwen 15th at plus 203. Needs a big game and some help. Jordan Richards 16th at plus 198. Diana Zavgalova is 17th at plus 193. Clara Guerrero is 18th at plus 190. Valerie Garcia 19th at plus 189. Jasmine Mason 20th at plus 182. Now Shannon Sellens just outside the cash number at plus 148 and 26th. Challenge O'Keefely is the last person at the moment to get a cash check. Pepsi Classic at plus 150. Giveaway is coming up. It's getting ready. And We don't yet have our tour championship standings as of yet. Those are updated. I'll let you know.
All right, well-trained audience. Mini Visiball coming up
The Viz
next.
of Mini.
And Shannon O'Keefe in a bit of trouble here. Open in the first, and then misses a single pin in the third. And definitely safe for the Tour Championship cut, but man, she needs a game here.
Of course, O'Keefe 13th at the Reno Classic. Missed the practice session after finishing up the McKendree-hosted tournaments. Of course, the head coach of the McKendree Bearcats in women's collegiate bowling. And hopped on a flight out here late Sunday evening. A little bit of a slow start, certainly on Monday. Figured things out and fell just short of the top 12. See Gongora and O'Keefe. With Gongora with the advantage pin-wise at the moment, specifically again for the Pepsi Classic. Both players, as JT mentioned, specifically Sandra Gongora was fourth prior to last game.
Wow, and Kulik is, trailing by 13 on the cut. She's got the front six. So Keefe's going to need to, and she's got a lot of ground to make up on 10. And now her max score down to 247. Shannon Plahowski also with a good game going. She's chasing O'Keefe as well. Plahowski with a max score of 265 through 6 frames. So Shannon O'Keefe here is in must-strike territory.
We already happened? Did it happen already?
folks, if you've been following this tournament, there's no doubt you've been reading the stories of Joe Jaquez. He's writing for Bowler's Journal. He did a fantastic job covering the U.S. Women's Open. His story on Josie Barnes is currently in the October issue, the flagship story on the cover. And so he's going to join us real quick here as we round down the final game to give us a scoop on what he's working on. Joe, how are you doing, sir?
Hey guys, this is Joe from Bowler's Journal. I'm here at the Fall Classic Series covering these ladies as they bowl for titles and awards. And I've got some things that I'm working on. First of all, we have a story on Verity Crawley that is already on the website, bowlersjournal.com. It covers everything from her trip back home to England, her blog from earlier in the week, and her visit to the Harry Potter studios. So check that out. We also have a story on Stephanie Zavala, who, of course, won the first event of this Fall Classic Series. She told me that Diana Zavjalova actually asked her this week how she strikes so much, and if Zavala can show her how to strike more. So considering Zavala's a rookie and you're getting a major champion to tell you or to ask you how to strike more, that says a lot about Zavala's season and how transcendent she has been so far. So I definitely recommend checking out that story as well. I do have a story coming on Valerie Bercier at some point this week. She is 5 months pregnant and she is still bowling, which blows my mind. She talks to me about when she hears the baby kick and a whole bunch of other stuff. I won't give away too much. This is merely a tease of sorts. And then I'm also going to be doing a story on Sandra Gongora and her mental health. She's actually bowling really well for this tournament. But yeah, that'll be coming. And yeah, that's about all. Thanks, guys, for letting me come on.
That's like 7 stories, Joe. What are you doing here? You got to go get to work.
I don't think Joe can hear us.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. Well,
I can't.
Yeah, I don't think
having trouble hearing you guys.
All right. Well, thank you, Joe. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Thanks, guys.
Had some issues with that mixer today.
Yeah, had issues with lots of things. But thank you, Joe, for the great work. Be sure to check Joe out on the Bowler's Journal Instagram page and Facebook, and obviously subscribe to the magazine. He's doing a great job. So, yeah, here we go. Shannon O'Keefe basically is done. She's not going to make the cut here at the Pepsi Classic. She will make the Tour Championship cut, but missing the cut here in this tournament is really going to make it difficult for her to win Player of the Year.
Yeah, that's a tough one. And probably about as unexpected as Danielle not advancing to the top 12 either.
Yeah.
In either of those events. However, or Danielle to be determined still within the Pepsi Classic. But the TC certainly a surprise for D-Mac.
Yeah, for sure. I wouldn't have picked that one, especially this time around, because she's been bowling so well coming into this event.
TC, just a quick update. Those are updated. The number plus 297 right now is Misaki Mukatani with Lara Guerrero just 10 pins back. Shalenzu Keefley 40 pins back. Jordan Richard 41 pins back. I'm speaking of the Tour Championship number. Of course, Brianna Cote continues to lead there plus 719. But as Aaron mentioned earlier, all pins will be dropped. It'll be straight match play once Friday begins. In regards to the Pepsi Classic, though, let's see here. Starting to score watch. Big splits converted by Sandra Gongora, too, by the way, to remain clean.
Yeah, and I think we need to leave it here to watch Sandra come down the stretch because, you know, she was the big story this morning. And she struggled this afternoon. She hasn't had a great block. Just 34 over for the block so far. And she's really finding a way to grind out this game. But probably will need a few strikes coming down the stretch just to be safe, with Kelly Kulik bowling a big game and Plahowski bowling a big game right behind her. Plahowski's actually slowed down a bit. Now her max score is 232 going into the 10th frame. So best Plahowski will be able to get to is 266 over. So that would make Gongora's magic number 198. And oh my. She's not there yet. She's going to need a double at some point to get to that number.
Well, at worst, she'd like to obviously not give any pins back. Let's see, other players just in front of Sandra, Verity Crawley and Lindsay Bomershine. It was off to a good start. Split in the 6th frame. Lindsay shouldn't be having any trouble. She's not. She's got a 3-bagger at the moment.
Kulik has finished with 246. So that puts Kelly Kulik at plus 274.
Well, she cannot beat Kelly at the moment. Or period, I should say. She will not be able to get around Kelly.
Who's that?
Sandra Gunvor.
She will. She will, actually. If she goes off the sheet.
Maybe I miscalculated. Oh, I did. Extremely miscalculated. 10 pins off. My apologies.
It's okay. I do it all the time.
212 is the max score for Gongora.
Yeah, she's got to have the next 3 strikes to pass Kelly. But I think she may have a one-spot cushion because Plahowski can only get to 266. So she would still need a double at some point if Plahowski were to go off a sheet. McEwen finishes with 234, so she's going to be a little short. She's going to get to plus 237. Jordan Richard has a max score of 247. So best she can get to is plus 245. So a couple of big frames here for Sandra Gongora. Trying to make this cut. She's already safely in the Tour Championship finals, but looking to make back-to-back match play appearances here at the Fall Classic.
Big shot coming up here at 9th frame. Liz Culkin could potentially make things interesting. She can max at 279, and I believe can get to 247 plus 247 if she is to strike out. Gongora, 9th frame. Oh, mix them up.
And Plahowski opened in the 10th to finish at 209, so she's at plus 243. And it's really shaping up with O'Keefe throwing a few more strikes. She could be alternate back-to-back events.
shot there for Shannon, 9th frame. She had been battling kind of hip IT band type injury. Meanwhile, Nelly Blomqvist, although out of it, has continued to show her talent and abilities. But right now, it is about Sandra Gongora. With at least one dump. The strike here would go a long way.
Oh, huge strike.
Wow.
We're not rooting. Interesting note here, if Shannon O'Keefe goes off the sheet in the 10th, she will tie Shannon Plahowski at plus 243. So I don't believe that is going to get in, but if something were to happen above major disasters, or, Boomershine or Verity Crawley, we could have a tie for that last spot. And that would be a one-game roll-off.
Gongora.
Oh! But
Interesting.
that first hit was the huge one, right?
So a spare will put her at 201. She'll get to plus 269 with a spare. At worst, she remains at plus 268. Liz Culkin did not strike in the 9th frame, which means she can no longer get to plus 247 and make it interesting.
Yeah, and I'm looking down further on the list, and Clara Guerrero had a chance, but her max score is only 242, and she still has 3 more frames left. Lindsay Boomershine shooting a solid game, 218 pace through 8 with a possible 248. Diana Z shot 191, so she's not going to come up from the bottom. She was at plus 193. So, again, she's safe for the Tour Championship, but will miss the cut in the Pepsi Classic. Valerie Bercier with possible 234, but that's not going to be enough. And O'Keefe with that miss will not be alternate. So I think she's not going to be happy not to be bowling tomorrow, but I think we'll be happy not to have to be here at 7:30 in the morning to carry a clipboard around for the day.
Always a silver lining, though. As you mentioned, she is in line and will advance to the Tour Championship, which is something that she has won previously.
And because she's had 2 decently high finishes, even though she hasn't made the cut, I think she's still going to stay alive in the Player of the Year race, because with the points being expanded for the Tour Championship,
Because it is a major.
she could still take home Player of the Year for the 3rd consecutive season if she bowls well in that Tour Championship. So disappointing finish for O'Keefe. Ends up plus 221. Again, will not make the cut into the Pepsi Classic, but we'll see her in the Tour Championship finals starting on Friday.
Stolen by Brianna Andrew. Lake Blomqvist opened 244. She'll finish at plus 55. All right, so questions in the chat. Does everyone compete in match play? So specifically for the Pepsi Classic, the top 12 as we complete qualifying, advance to match play tomorrow for the Pepsi Classic. For the Tour Championship, the top 24 players with combined 24 game qualifying totals from the Reno Classic and the Pepsi Classic. Are who advanced to the top 20 for the Tour Championship. All right, so we'll basically just wait for the updated numbers. We believe that there should be or is one player in and one player out. I think it's Kelly Kulik who will be in, and Shannon O'Keefe will miss the top 12 here. All right, let's see. What pair do we have here? Let's see if we can get to 57 and 58. Hold on one second. Hang tight. All right, you'll be able to catch Verity's final couple of shots.
I see you didn't beat my 22-second record.
I did not, but I was also kind of leaning over,
Yeah, I thought, yeah,
one hand in it, you know.
that was rough.
Wow, she didn't like that one. Skynet, yes. Once qualifying is complete here, we will have the top 24 and let you know what that number was to advance as well. Final shot here for Crawley. All right, Verity finishes at 213 to get to plus 297. Everyone is finishing swiftly. We may get a
Except us.
we may get a couple of additional shots in. Dasha is finishing up along with Melanie McDaniel.
Just in time to watch Dasha's low game of the day.
That concludes round 2 of the PWBA Pepsi Classic.
Oh, gosh.
Round 2 of the PWBA Pepsi
Well, all right.
Please give us a few minutes to verify the scores. And we'll come back and announce the top 12 athletes that will advance to tomorrow's match play competition.
All right, so we hope we'll have some folks to talk to. Hopefully Dasha will join us here.
We got somebody on it. We got the top people working on that for us.
The top individuals. Yellow Jack, appreciate you as always.
Let's see if she can make us cry like Sandra did earlier. Cry laughing.
Dasha has a way. Honestly, two of my favorite podcasts were with Dasha and Sandra. Two very genuine and authentic individuals.
That's for sure.
All right, so while we wait, again, we know that Dasha is in the lead in the Pepsi Classic standings. It should be, and I don't know the particular order, as Maria Jose Rodriguez. She got to 203 that game. She's in. Liz Johnson is in. I didn't see Jen Higgins last game, but it would have taken a lot for her to fall out as well as Stephanie Johnson. So we believe that Kelly Kulik will be in and Shannon O'Keefe will fall out of the top 12. All right, so Dasha is nearby. Curtis is getting her all set up.
I think he's exaggerating her height a little bit. Curtis he's such an auteur. He's an artiste, not an artist, an artiste. He refuses to tilt the camera up to show that he actually raises the level of the camera so it's even with Dasha. Dasha's an artiste as well.
Because he's a true professional. I think I'm guessing that Dasha can hear us based on what she's some of her gestures.
So.
If you can hear us, give me a.
Okay, we added her to the stream. Yeah, we're on. We're all on.
Oh,
Dasha Kovalova, great bowling today. Oh, we can't hear you.
I don't know if she spoke. Oh, she's
well, knowing her, she would do it just to mess with us.
That's what I'm saying. I didn't know if she was playing.
Yeah. We're getting it worked on, Dasha. Don't worry. We can just have a sign language conversation.
I'm not very good at that, but I think she could.
Oh boy, I'm red, man. She made me turn red. See, so Sandra made us all cry earlier, and so we were wondering if you could do the same for us. Could you make us cry? You can't now. You can't hear us. Oh boy, what is going on today?
All right.
This is the Curtis. You want me to get up and look at that for you?
Here's a quick idea.
No.
Let's remove Dasha real quick until we get Dasha ready.
All right.
And then we'll do that. And if you guys need to convert on over there, I'll handle it here for a while if necessary.
Okay.
And yeah, so Bowl TV, I got you covered here for a few minutes until the technical difficulties are ironed out. Nonetheless, here we are. We'll wait for Dasha. Let's quickly go over again, recap our standings at the moment. Dasha Kovalova, your leader of the Pepsi Classic standings here. She will advance to match play and hopefully find herself in the top 4 of the stepladder finals of the Pepsi Classic. She will look for her 3rd win of the season. In the Tour Championship standings, which combines the qualifying totals of the Reno Classic as well as the Pepsi Classic, Brianna Cote was your leader coming into and will be the leader when we begin competition for that on Friday. Remember now, that is all match play round robin on Friday and Saturday. Of course, the TV show for the Tour Championship will be held on Sunday, Halloween afternoon on CBS Sports Network. Coming into the final game, however, Misaki Mukatani had the final spot, 24th at plus 297. Here comes Jace back into the frame. Clara Guerrero was 10 pins back. Shaolin Zulkifli was 40 pins back. And so we will see what the situation is. So it sounds like perhaps we may be working good here.
Potential.
Yes. Dasha, thank you for joining us for the worst segment ever on Bull TV.
That's what I do. I join people for worst and for best.
It's not your fault.
Somehow
great.
it's my fault.
Great bowling.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So what was the key out there today? First event wasn't your best. Now
Yeah.
this one, you just ran them over completely. What was the difference?
I cried a lot. After my first event, I think it was 4 consecutive crying sessions, and then I realized, you know what? Got nothing to lose. So I decided to play a target game, like to see how many times I can hit my target and actually make it work. I mean, I think I succeeded.
I think so. So that's an interesting thing. Like we're starting to see, like you'll have a week that's not so great, and you'll come in and you'll say, I have no confidence, and then you'll come out the next tournament and you'll break a scoring record. How is it that happens? What is it about the way that is it just matching up to certain conditions, or is it like a confidence thing, or what's the deal there?
Honestly, if I knew what it was, I probably would have bowled more consistently. I have no idea. But I think what it is I'm usually not as confident on the shorter patterns because I don't like to see my ball hook. I like to throw it up 15 into the pocket, which I did today. And you see how it turned out. And on 37, I couldn't do that. And you see how that turned out. So there's the thing I need to work on in off season, shorter patterns.
Well, we talked about it on the show, and Emil and I thought it was an interesting thing. Like, you're so good when you're on. Is it important to you to change your game for the patterns that you don't like and possibly risk losing being that good when you're on? Or is it more important to you to be a well-rounded player?
I think I want to be a well-rounded player. And yes, whatever is out right now is my strength. But I do also want to conquer the shorter patterns because I feel like if I want to be a professional bowler, I have to be more well-rounded on everything that we bowl on, be more consistent so that I won't have to, pull myself out of the hole I dug 2 days ago and have a heart attack on lanes every time I don't strike, Just gotta work on that.
Curious, what types of shapes and motions did you see? And I'm also curious the shapes that did not work yesterday and the shapes that did work today.
So the shape that I saw today was basically like, can I gesture stuff?
Sure.
Because I
Yes.
don't know how to talk
Right
with
at the
words.
camera.
So the shape of today was like this. I'm a professional bowler. I know what I'm doing. And then the shape that I needed to play yesterday was more like this. Like I had to open the lane up more, and I had to be more softer with my hand, and I get inconsistent with that, especially if I see that other people score really well. Then I get into my head, and I can't get out of it in time. And today I was just like, you know what? I got nothing to lose. I'm 36. I'm probably not gonna make it to top 24. So let's just try and play a target game and actually hit your target a couple of times.
Well, you're in the top 24, soft. You're in the top 12 for tomorrow, obviously leading. So let's try to get into your head a little bit about that Player of the Year race.
You don't want to get into my head.
Is that something you're thinking about whatsoever? Or are you just trying to focus on the task at hand for tomorrow?
Honestly, before today, I stopped thinking about it. I was like, well, there it is. See you next year, maybe. But now I still not gonna think about it because when I put too much pressure on myself, it sucks. So I'm just gonna play my target game and see how it's gonna turn out tomorrow.
Let me ask you this, and it might be an obvious question, but you're not oblivious though to the understanding of where you are within that realm, but you are actively trying to push it to the side. Does that make sense?
Yes, I mean I'm close, so I know that, but I would rather not know in the detail and just try to do my job, and then see what's gonna happen. Because I already freaked myself out enough with other stuff. I don't want to add that on the pile. It's just gonna collapse.
Well, the only thing that was collapsing today, it looked like, Dasha, were the pins.
Were the pins, baby?
Yes, you were. What do you say? Tripping fours and taking names?
I did that a couple of times. I tripped a 610.
Wow.
Out of a face shot. Somebody came down and said, "You know what, girl? You suffered yesterday. Here you go. Here's that one for you. Enjoy."
Well, you had a great day today. It's been fun talking to you. I'm sure you'll have get some rest tonight. Come in tomorrow.
Yep.
Take some names, and you're right there for the Player of the Year race. But don't think about it. We don't want to be the ones to put that in your head.
I'll blame you on if something goes wrong. I'll be like, yeah, it's Jason.
Everyone else does. No worries.
But
I'll join the club.
But good luck the rest of the week. And,
thank you, guys.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see you in that step ladder final show tomorrow.
I hope so too. Bye.
All right, that is Dasha Kovalova, ladies and gentlemen. Great day today. With that, obviously catapulting all the way up into the top 10. Still waiting on the final standings for the top 24. We won't leave the air until we know that update is coming. It's on the way, of course.
We will not sleep until you get your standings. Now let's go grab a bite to eat.
Oh, shit. Sounds good. So Dasha answered the questions that we were talking about, obviously, earlier today on the show. Liked her answers as always, Dasha. There's only one Dasha, and I'm so happy that she is bowling on this tour.
No, she's absolutely incredible. It is interesting though, and I think she, because of who she is, she really lets you into kind of the angst of wanting to be better, right? Like she wants to be great every week, no matter what they're bowling on. And it really bothers her when she has an event like we saw her have at the Reno Classic. But then she comes right back out like it never happened, and she just runs everybody over today. You know, just absolutely destroys the pins, dominates the event, and, you know, really almost bowled well enough to virtually lock herself on a position on the show tomorrow, which, you know, we've seen her do a number of times already this year. She's just gone out, she can get way ahead, and then she just keeps her foot on the gas and just keeps extending that lead. And here's tournament director Rob Gottschall with the standings.
Pepsi Classic, your tournament leader from Ukraine, Dasha Kovalova. Second, Brianna Cote. Third, Maria Jose Rodriguez. Also third, Stephanie Johnson. In fifth, Liz Johnson, Julia Bond, Jen Higgins, Verity Crawley, Lindsay Boomershaw, 10th, Missy Parkin, 11th, Kelly Hewitt, and your cut score at plus 269, Sandra Gangora.
Yeah, so we had it, Emil.
For the PWBA
Oh, we're going to go through the Tour Championship cut as well.
723, Brianna Cote. Your cut score tied for 23rd and 24th, plus 314. Lindsay Boomershine and Shalyn Zukifli.
Okay, so plus 314 is the number for the top 24 for the Tour Championship. Lindsay Boomershine, Shalyn Zukifli, no roll off. They're tied for that 23rd spot, so that is the cut. The standings are available over on PWBA.com. You can also get to them from the Bowl TV chat panel as well, the info tab. But yeah, tomorrow we've got 12 more games of match play, round robin for the Pepsi Classic, and then a stepladder tomorrow night. And then the Tour Championship gets underway on Friday. Emil, what do you expect tomorrow?
From Dasha specifically, I don't think she's going to have an issue continuing to score. Now, I say that and just because yesterday during match play, I think some of the players struggled a little bit because the transitions were different with less players overall in the field. So that is something to keep an eye on tomorrow. But much like, Brianna Cote and Stephanie Zavala were kind of battling for a while, and then Cote just kind of took it to another level and, kind of stamped her passport, if you will, to the stepladder finals. I think Dasha will certainly be in a position to do that, and we could find herself, or she could find herself as the top seed tomorrow afternoon going into that second block. After that, I think it's more of what we saw yesterday. I'm not sure how many people we'll have for the final three spots. I think Cote, obviously, based on what she's done so far, Maria Jose Rodriguez has had a great qualifying block. Stephanie Johnson rolling on the momentum from the Reno Classic stepladder final. Liz Johnson has been very good and later in the blocks, at least during qualifying. Julia Bond, Jen Higgins, obviously Verity Crawley. Lindsay Boomershine looked great today overall, I think. Missy Parkin, Kelly Kulik also has been very good. And obviously Sandra Gongora, not just what she talked about earlier, but her performance is really speaking volumes of what she has done. 9th yesterday, she's already made the cut, and she's on to the Tour Championship. Best stretch of bowling, certainly for her. I couldn't tell you what's going to happen from 2 to 12 tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Brianna Cote has been impressive. These two patterns, they've asked you to do two completely different things, especially after they transition, and she's nailed both of them. And so she's bowling great, obviously. She's still alive for Player of the Year.
Yep.
So that's going to be but she's a little behind. So she needs to have another high finish to give herself a chance going into that Tour Championship. And if she ends up able to win this event and get herself close, I mean, she might be the front runner for Player of the Year, the way she's bowling going into that Tour Championship. But I don't think anybody's going to catch Dasha tomorrow. I think she's going to be our tournament leader, but she has had some hiccups in the stepladder finals. She's also had some great performances, so we'll have to see what happens there. And like you said, who knows what's going to happen for those last two spots on the show. You're going to have to tune in to Bowl TV tomorrow at 8 a.m. Pacific time, 11 a.m. Eastern to watch. We'll have coverage all day long, 12 games of match play, and the stepladder finals tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern time here on Bowl TV. Dave Lamont and CDB will be on the call for that. Emil and Aaron will be on the call tomorrow for the match play. Hope you've enjoyed the coverage here on Bowl TV all week long. We're going to sign off from the National Bowling Stadium here today. Let me get my little list of handy-dandy people to thank, but I know we want to thank the USBC and the BPAA Board of Directors, all of the gold partners here on Bowl TV, Storm, Rotogrip, and Brunswick, as well as Kegel. Thank you guys so much for everything that you guys do for the sport. We'd also like to thank the players for putting on a great show for us again here this week. We saw 300 games today, Emil, and it's been pretty cool to watch, when we give the players just a little bit of room to play, how incredibly,
they don't mess around.
Yeah, they do not mess around. And finally, we'd like to thank you guys, the fans here on Bowl TV. We couldn't do it without your support. Thank you guys so much for everything. Be sure to check out that interview that Aaron and Emil did with Sandra Gongora. It's blowing up on social media. Jason Belmonte shared it out a little while ago, and it was really great stuff, and it really gave you some cool insight into what some of the best players in the world go through. And Sandra will get to see her bowl tomorrow. So Hope you guys have a great night. Hope you join us back here on Bowl TV tomorrow. Again, continuing coverage of the PWBA Fall Classic here on Bowl TV. We're going to find out who wins the last two events of the year, the Tour Championship and Player and Rookie of the Year. So you're not going to want to miss it. For Emil Williams Jr., for Aaron Smith, for Curtis Von Kruger, and the great staff here at the National Bowling Stadium, I'm Jason Thomas. Hope you have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow. And remember, on Bowl TV, bowling lives here.